continue to address important national challenges, including security, economy, and prevalent corruption.
President Muhammadu Buhari parleys with religious leaders, says he has clear-cut strategies to leave Nigeria better than he met it. Traditional ruler advocates stringent measures against human traffickers and receiving countries.
Certain facts have played out in the past 2-3 days, which will also make it not proper for us to continue.
Aftermath of Adamawa election, political party loses case against INEC on exclusion of logo from ballot paper. And on bilateral relations, Venezuela to boost Nigeria's agriculture sector as Foreign Affairs Minister calls for synergy among ECOWAS countries to accelerate development in sub-region. Hello there, good to have you join us on NTA Network News tonight. I am Jumma Yusuf. Also reading with me from Lagos is Jennifer Igwe and Dibabri Weke in Port Harcourt. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed absolute confidence in his ability to leave Nigeria better, stronger and more prosperous than he met it in 2015. The president gave the assurance while receiving the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, led by its president, Reverend Samson Ayokunle. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has details.
President Muhammadu Buhari told the executive officials of CAN who were in the State House on a congratulatory visit that the outcome of the just concluded polls underscored the trust Nigerians have in the present leadership of the country. This, he said, will not be taken for granted by his administration as Nigeria moves to the next level.
I assure you of my resolve and commitment to leave Nigeria better than I met it in 2015, and we shall continue to address important national challenges, including security, economy, and prevalent corruption.
The federal government, he also said, is not unmindful of the supportive roles by religious bodies in the last 4 years and promised continuous engagement on programs anchored by the Nigeria Interreligious Council towards sustaining peace, tolerance, unity, and harmony in the country.
We will continue to strive for peaceful coexistence among all Nigerians, irrespective of their religious beliefs. In the area of allocation of political offices, our focus will be on merit and national separate, such that every part of Nigeria will have a sense of belonging. We remain resolute in the fight against terrorism and insurgency, and efforts to bring back all those in captivity and other victims of kidnappings will be intensified.
CAN President Reverend Samson Ayokunle, while felicitating with the president on his re-election, urged him to take his leadership beyond party politics and embrace all as father to all.
Our prayer for you is that God shall grant you everything it takes to perform 100 times better than your first time. We pray that your administration will lead Nigeria to become the glory and pride of the nations in Africa, and a country many people would desire to be. Please count on this organization as one that has the success of your administration at heart.
While appealing to President Buhari to task security agencies to be more proactive in their duties, the CAN leader made a passionate request for deliberate and relentless efforts to free Leah Sharibu, the remaining Chibok girls, and other Nigerians in captivity.
All efforts today by all of us should be geared towards forgiving one another and reconciling with one another.
Reverend Ayokunle, who appreciated the president for all his efforts at putting an end to bloodshed across the country, wished him greater strides in the governance of Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has formally given reasons for his decision to observe the Jumat prayers in the State House rather than the national mosques. Receiving a delegation of imams and other Islamic scholars from across the country on a solidarity visit, the president explained that the action was aimed at reducing the hardship being faced by FCT residents due to attendant restrictions associated with presidential movements. Again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the report.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who was responding to a request by the visiting imams and the Islamic scholars to resume observing the Jumat prayers at the National Mosque, said his decision to pray in the State House Mosque was well thought out.
I implore you to note that I personally started observing Jumat prayers in the State House in order to reduce hardships which people may pass through. As you all know, presidential movements require roadblocks and other attendant restrictions which could subject worshippers and other people to a lot of difficulties.
The president, who thanked the ulamas for their continued support to his administration, prayed Allah to make it possible for him to discharge his obligations conscientiously for the good of all, complete all ongoing projects and initiate new ones for the benefit of the country.
As for the few challenges that we are witnessing, including kidnappings, armed robberies, and illicit drug consumption, I assure you that we will, inshallah, tackle them in the same manner we dealt with Boko Haram. Just yesterday, I met the security agencies, and they have been charged to leave no stone unturned in decisively dealing with these security challenges.
The Islamic scholars, led by Professor Shehu Galadanchi of the National Mosque, said the overwhelming victory by the president at the last election was a demonstration of the desire for continuity by the nation's majority. He prayed Allah to grant the Nigerian leader the wisdom and ability to take Nigeria to the next level.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, praise be to Almighty Allah for giving you health, power, wisdom, courage, determination, and also fear of Allah, to make it possible for you to bring many changes in this country. The many projects you started have already yielded fruition. You have brought back security to this country. Noteworthy achievements have also been made in agriculture. We now produce what we eat, and we eat what we produce.
Professor Galadanchi also applauded the Buhari presidency for the giant strides recorded in the fight against corruption and the provision of infrastructure, saying, however, that the remnants of terrorists in the remote areas of the country must be annihilated. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, has stressed the need for the Nigerian Interreligious Council, NIREC, to work hard to ensure peace and harmony in the country, particularly after the recently held general elections. The FGF said this during the second quarterly meeting of the Council in Abuja.
The challenge of NIREC remains to foster a peaceful and united Nigeria, and I have no doubt in the sincerity of our religious leaders in their resolve to influence the politicians of all faiths to grow, promote, and sustain a united Nigeria. It is on this note that I wish to thank you all for the roles you have played towards a peaceful general election.
The FGF affirmed his readiness to support NIREC to go beyond the statutory meetings by taking the council to all the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. The meeting has as its theme, "Let Peace Reign in Nigeria." An advocacy for legal practitioners to use the instrumentality of the law to protect constitutional democracy is underway in Abuja. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo made the advocacy at the award night for members of the body of benchers. Olabode Arewa reports.
Seated here are members of the body of benchers who have contributed immensely to the uplift of the legal profession in Nigeria. It is in the light of this that the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who is part of the life benchers, wants legal practitioners to sustain the power of the law by canvassing to justice. Vice President Osinbajo posits that the rule of law is the benchmark of constitutional democracy.
Today, our profession stands at a critical crossroads. Yet, the different possible paths that we should take have, to my mind, never been so clear and so illuminated. One path is the path of business as usual, which of course means that we will face the extinction of our credibility as a profession soon enough. The other is the path of renewal, the right path, a more courageous, even if more difficult path.
In their goodwill messages, Senate President Bukola Saraki and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, canvassed sustenance of a just society.
Let me commend you all and for the role you continue to play in our society, a society that we hope that truth and justice are seen to prevail, where men and women will believe that the system will always stand for the truth.
We must be able to produce, if you permit me loosely to say, judicial transformational leaders.
43 former chairmen of the body of benchers and 132 life benchers were honored by the body. Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Now to electoral matters, Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has won the Adamawa State 2019 governorship election after polling more than 376,000 votes at the end of a supplementary election. Tafa Hamza Mayo reports.
Umaru Ahmadu of PDP, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Professor Andrew Haruna of Federal University Gashua declared the result of the governorship election in Adamawa State started on the 9th and ended on the 28th of March 2019 through supplementary election. Fintiri of the PDP won with over 376,000, beating the incumbent Governor Muhammad Umar Jibrilla of the APC, who scored 336,386, while Senator Abdul Aziz Nyako of African Democratic Congress ADC got 113,237 votes. The election was keenly contested, while 29 candidates participated, out of which 4 were female. The state returning officer, Andrew Haruna, appreciated all stakeholders for their cooperation and pressed that be maintained for the good of all. In Yola, Tafawa Hamza Mayo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Adamawa State Governor Muhammad Jibrila bin Daw has congratulated the Governor-elect Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri over his victory at the governorship supplementary election. The Governor, in a broadcast, wished the incoming Governor a successful tenure.
As a Democrat, I cherish democratic norms and values as it is practiced in the civilized world. I wish to congratulate the Governor-elect, the Right Honorable Ahmadu Fintiri, over his election.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the Governor-elect of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, urging him to properly articulate his vision and mission for the Gateway State before taking over the reins of power. The president said this will enable him not to only begin his tenure on a sound footing, but also keep faith with the next level agenda of the governing APC. During the visit, the governor-elect, accompanied by the deputy governor-elect as well as the former governor of Ogun State, Segun Osoba, thanked the president for his guidance and support in the build-up to the governorship election.
Had the privilege of being given my certificate of return, so I had to see that opportunity to show the president that, I've been elected, this is my certificate of return, and also share with him our vision for Ogun State, which is basically to give a focused and qualitative governance to Ogun people while creating an enabling environment for a public-private sector partnership, which we believe is fundamental to the economic development of the state and individual prosperity of all Ogun State people. And that was basically what we shared with Mr. President. We told him how we intend to achieve that. We're going to touch every area, every sector of our economy. This I shared with Mr. President, and I think Mr. President was very pleased.
State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the governor-elect Dapo Abiodun was, until his election, the chairman governing board of the Corporate Affairs Commission. Now to judicial matters. A state high court sitting in Yola has dismissed the originating summons filed by the Movement for the Restoration and Defense of Democracy, MRDD, challenging INEC for excluding its party logo during the March 9th governorship election in the state. Abubakar Hamman reports.
The presiding judge, Justice Abdul Aziz Waziri, in his ruling on a pending application on motion for preliminary objection on the original summon filed by the Defense Counsel, maintained that the court has jurisdiction to determine the plaintiff claim and therefore rejected the application. Delivering judgment on the exclusion of the MRDD logo on the ballot papers during the governorship election held on the 9th March 2019, the judge dismissed the summon. He said all the exhibits tendered by the MRDD before the court are unsatisfied public documents which cannot be used in a court of law. The defense counsel and counsel to the plaintiff spoke to NTA News on the outcome of the judgment.
The most vital document, which is the ballot paper, which the plaintiff alleges in the case that his name or the logo of his party was omitted thereof, is not before the court.
Certain facts have played out in the past 2-3 days, which will also make it not proper for us to continue.
The leadership of the PDP in Adamawa State also reacts on the judgment as efforts to get the leadership of MRDD was fruitless.
This is a victory for the entire citizens of Adamawa State.
The MRDD was, however, given 90 days within which to appeal against the judgment of the court. In Yola, Abubakar Hamman.
The Code of Conduct Tribunal has dismissed a no-case submission filed by the suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, on the grounds that the confessional statement by the jurist on his undeclared bank account with Standard Chartered Bank is enough for him to enter his defense in order to clear his name. Aliu Tukur reports.
Justice Walter Onoge, through his counsel, filed for a no-case submission, urging the tribunal to quash the 6-count charge against him on the grounds that the Code of Conduct Bureau did not comply with relevant laws before filing the charge. Onoge's counsel submitted that the Bureau did not investigate the petition filed against him before filing the charge, and that the declaration forms he submitted to the Bureau were not verified as required by the law. The prosecution adopted its written arguments filed on 28th of March, saying the bone of contention in the matter is not false declaration of assets, but rather non-declaration of assets from 2005 to 2016. In his ruling, the chairman of the tribunal, Daladi Umar, disagreed with the defense on the grounds that there is sufficient reason for the defendant to enter his case. He said the confessional statement that he forgot to declare his 5 accounts in Standard Chartered Bank has tainted his image so much that warrants him to clear it. However, the defense applied for adjournment to next Friday to enable the defendant prepare for his defense as ordered by the tribunal. This prayer was rejected by the chairman of the tribunal and ordered that the defense must enter its case by Monday.
So what we are seeing in this tribunal, very regrettably, is that the chairman has taken over the power of the other 2 members. He didn't allow them to talk. We pleaded with him. He rose up and left the court. What is happening? What is happening? Is this justice?
As for the exchange of words between the defense and the chairman, he had ordered long before now that this trial will go on from day to day, on the day-to-day basis. And the next day is Monday. And For somebody to be emotional and say, God help Nigeria and so on and so forth, is giving a dog a bad name to hang it.
Meanwhile, in a quick response to the ruling of the tribunal, Onogen filed a notice of appeal which predicated on 3 grounds: that the tribunal erred in law for dismissing his no-case submission without appreciating the position of the law, that due process was not followed in filing the charge against him. He claimed that the Code of Conduct Bureau, by provision of the law, did not follow the standard operational procedure with respect to investigation. In Abuja, Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
It's time to take a break. More news when we return. Do stay.
Team huddle.
But we lost.
Don't be tired, guys. This isn't a loss. It's a practice for winning.
Nothing makes a mother prouder than seeing her child growing up. But I know as he learns to lead, he'll face even more dirt, germs, and risk of illness.
That's why in changing seasons, you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Tomorrow is coming.
The Industrial Training Fund, ITF, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, cordially invites the general public to the official closing ceremony of the National Industrial Skills Development Program. His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, GCON, Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, will be the special guest of honor. Other guests during the ceremony include the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Okechukwu Enelama, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Malam Mohammed Bello, and the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Hajia Aisha Abubakar, who will be the distinguished guests. The Director General of the Industrial Training Fund, Sir Joseph Ari, will be the chief host. The closing ceremony is scheduled to take place as follows. Date, Thursday, 4th April 2019. Venue, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. Invited guests are expected to be seated by 9:30 a.m. ITF, developing the nation's human resources. Sulayol Fred Chagu, Head Public Affairs for ITF Management. Announcer.
Everybody dance now. What? Louder. We are the strongest. No challenge can stop us. So Lord, and we are the brightest. No darkness can blind us. We are the strongest.
Malta Guinness is packed with B vitamins to fuel your greatness on the go.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it. This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Thanks for staying. Now, the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing at a budget defense before the State Senate Committee on Lands, Housing and Urban Development says the 2019 appropriation for the housing sector will focus on completion of the construction of 1,155 blocks of 2,383 units of housing under the National Housing Program across the country. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim reports that the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Mohammed Bukar, stood in for the Minister at the budget defense.
Capital budget for the housing sector in the 2019 appropriations is put at 79.967 billion naira. If adequately released as at when due, the ministry is optimistic that various ongoing projects critical to the socio-economic development of the nation embarked by the sector will be completed. The senators raised various concerns, including cases of building collapse, low pace of work, and commitment of international partners, judicious utilization of the internally generated revenue, and prioritization of projects.
The ministry is very slow. If you didn't put it that way, let me just put it clearly.
We are slow because of the magnitude of the projects. I don't think there is any particular ministry that has this quantum of projects of over 70 billion, sir. And yes, sir, all others is 5 billion, 6 billion. If you go to, we receive over 70 billion worth of your projects. And we are under obligation to make sure that these projects are properly costed in terms of bill of quantities, in terms of payment. Instead for us just to, we can't just walk towards the answer and say because there's a project 200 million naira, we award it on the basis of 200 million naira. We have to know exactly what is the scope of the work, what is the bill, and so on. So this took quite a chunk of our time in doing that, but thankfully we are done with it, sir.
The lawmakers also resolved to carry out thorough oversight on the ongoing projects being executed by the agencies for on-the-spot assessment. From the National Assembly, Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Thank you, Kenneth. Searchlights were beamed on counter-insurgency and terrorism at the defense of 2019 budget proposals by parastatals in the Ministry of Defense before the House Committee on Defense. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu has details.
The defense parastatals made presentations on the performance of 2018 budget allocations with a view to seeking approval for year 2019 budget proposal.
Hopefully, the committee will help us to make sure that we are able to assess our initial projection of 9 billion, because this is a shortfall of about 74 million from 2018 estimates.
If our overheads are approved timely, it will help us in implementing some of the field and simulation exercises we have in store for our officers.
The Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA, Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, and Defense Space Administration requested increase in overheads and the committee to ensure timely releases of funds.
The committee will look at your 2019 budget, has requested the increase on your overhead, and we'll look at even your personal emolument that you complain about the releases. We will liaise with the Ministry of Finance to see your monies are released to you.
The committee promised adequate legislative support towards improving production capacity of DICON, adequate military training, and to keep the national satellite capacity needed to monitor in detail criminal activities in the forest. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
And the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, says the thrust of the FCT proposed spending for 2019 is in keeping with the resolve of the government to improve infrastructure within the city by completing all ongoing projects for all-round development. He said this during the presentation on the ministry's budget performance for 2018 and projections for 2019 before the House of Representatives Committee on FCT. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
Infrastructure development within the Federal Capital City and adjoining communities is a priority area according to Mohammed Bello, which was why the completion of phases 1, 2 and 3 of such projects are of topmost importance, as government is committed to ensuring that Abuja remains a model city.
We're also allocating some amount of money to cater for the satellite towns, especially the major satellite towns. As he rightly mentioned, Kubwa, Karshi and Buhari are catered in this budget. The other satellite towns, we have captured them in the statutory budget, and one of which is a very important road, which we think is very important, is to dualize the road linking Kuje Township with the main expressway of the airport.
The committee expressed concern on budgetary releases to the ministry, urging that more projects should be captured.
The FCT needs adequate appropriation to fund critical national projects
which the targeted dates of completion have since elapsed. We engage relevant committees of the House to assist in increasing allocation to FCT.
The 2019 proposal for the FCT is more than 30 billion naira, 2 billion naira less than approvals for 2018. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Minister of Environment is working to restore wetlands ecosystem as well as tackling flooding in 18 communities in Nigeria. Minister of Environment Suleiman Hassan presented this before the Senate Committee on Environment as part of the ministry's 2019 budget projection. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko reports.
It's been a roll call of ministers at the National Assembly in the last 1 week, all in defense of the ministry's budget. The visitor this time is the Minister of Environment, Suleiman Hassan. He appeared before the Senate Committee on Environment to give account of his stewardship in the last fiscal year and the justification for 27.1 billion naira proposed for 2019. He listed the ratification of Paris Agreement for climate change and ECOWAS agreement to reduce sulfur content level in fuel import as some of the ministry's achievements in 2018. Suleiman Hassan explains that the 2019 budget is targeted at a number of projects, 110 capital projects in all the 36 states and the FCT, strengthening of regulatory agencies, audit of waste to wealth, Ogoni land cleanup and early flood management.
Establishing new initiatives for ensuring green and clean environment through national campaigns, tree planting, sanitation and public toilets, Ogoni land cleanup implementation and purchase of early warning system equipment.
Preparations and issuance of green bond, promotion of renewable energy are also part of projects to be executed in 2019. The Senate committee demanded explanations to some strategic issues.
We grow our crops in toxic soil, harvest the crop in toxic soil, because all the plastic and dirt that is being thrown into the ocean are the same things we are consuming.
We have a revised strategy now on the plastic pollution, which we are trying to develop.
The ministry and the committee here to see the possibility of raising the target of revenue from the ministry and other parastatals.
The Minister of Environment is poised to strengthen the environmental impact assessment levy for more internally generated revenue. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema, has asked permanent representatives of ECOWAS member countries accredited to the Commission to collaborate as they drive the task of implementing the integration of the sub-region to facilitate development. This was at the opening of the 2019 retreat of Permanent Representatives Committee of the ECOWAS in Abuja. Foreign Desk correspondent Markut Simon Macham reports.
The Permanent Representatives Committee is the body of all permanent representatives of ECOWAS member countries accredited to the Commission. They provide the groundwork for their countries as they engage each other and the Commission in pursuing common goals of the sub-regional body. This 2019 retreat, declared open by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema, seeks to discuss, among other things, the crucial issues highlighted by the ECOWAS in its quest for rapid integration, development, and prosperity.
And I would like to assure you that under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, Nigeria will continue to work closely with the management of all ECOWAS institutions towards the realization of our common aspirations and goals.
Nigeria's permanent representative to the ECOWAS, Ambassador Nuruddin Babatunde, who chairs the committee, says the two-day retreat will provide a platform for new members to get familiar with the workings of the ECOWAS and also deal with emerging issues.
Indeed, the retreat is coming at the right time when the need for synergy and collaboration between the PRC and ECOWAS Commission is crucial for our sub-regional development in all spheres.
Permanent representatives of all member countries are attending the retreat. In Abuja, Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
And Venezuela has expressed readiness to invest in Nigeria's agricultural sector in order to strengthen the bilateral relations between both countries. Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela Ambassador to Nigeria David Caraballo made this known during a press briefing in Abuja. Oyeyemi Ajayi has details.
Not hindered by the present political situation in Venezuela, the South American country has continued to strengthen the bilateral relations with other countries, especially Africa, where Nigeria is playing a paramount role. With the identification of 6 states of interest in areas of agriculture in Nigeria, it is believed that the partnership will touch more sectors of the economy for mutual benefits for both countries.
In every state, we work with 50 farmers to increase the capacities, to increase the technologies, to increase the mechanisms to the production of rice to consume, or for the seed, the verified seeds, to increase the production in these states.
In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
The Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty Ewere II, has advocated tougher punishment for human traffickers and erring countries. He has also called on the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, to join in the fight and help rehabilitate victims. Ifeoma Okafo reports that this was during the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires David Young in his palace.
Assuring the United States Chargé d'Affaires of his readiness to work with them, the Benin monarch solicited grants for the Oba Ewa II Foundation to rehabilitate victims of human trafficking. He urged Mr. Young to contribute to the return of Benin artifacts carted away by the Europeans so that the artifacts will be used to establish the Palace Museum.
If USAID can come up with a program to work with my foundation to discourage human trafficking, and then also rehabilitate those that have been involved in illegal migration, that are now returning back that are being returned from Libya and elsewhere.
Mr. Young appreciated Oba Ewa for his pronouncements against human trafficking and illegal migration, which he observed have had great impact in bringing freedom to the victims.
But I wanted to particularly express deep appreciation for all your personal leadership and efforts in combating human trafficking.
He informed the Oba that the American government has adopted an approach to prevention, protection, and prosecution in the fight against human trafficking. In Benin, Ifeoma Okafo, NTA News.
Employment and graduates are 2 keywords that can hardly exist without one another. And Veritas University Abuja, in a bid to address the Nigerian graduate and employability, organized its 7th convocation lecture with the theme, Softening the Skills of University Graduates for Competitiveness and Excellence. Daniel Adiri has details.
The Nigerian educational sector in recent times has been in the spotlight for many wrong reasons, with issues ranging from incessant industrial actions and unpaid allowances. But most notable amongst them is the issue of employability status of the Nigerian graduate.
For a graduate to be successful and globally competitive in this modern economy, they will need to learn soft skills, and that will propel them to succeed in life. Whereas your training at university has focused on technical and academic success, and for you to actually move to the next level, you need to have and acquire the soft skills.
The guest speaker, Adora Umelji, also noted that honing of soft skills in no small measure increases the employability ratio and status for job seekers in the country.
Most of our young graduates need to actually acquire such skills. Soft skills are personality traits and behaviors. They are not knowledge-based, and if they can learn those few personality traits, they will be able to aspire in various aspirations.
It was wonderful because it addressed the students and the graduates directly, and it's academic in the sense that it's a research paper, but also very practical.
We are not saying that all the universities are bad. We are not saying also that all the students are good, but there are some that are really very low.
Some students shared their experience.
It was a very great opportunity to actually hear from Mrs. Adora. Like, she's my mentor. I was so fulfilled.
She talked about us having passion for what we want to do. That is, if any career we want to do, we should have a mentor, because if we don't get a mentor in a particular career or occupation that we're supposed to do, we can't move forward.
Highlight of the event was the presentation of an award to the guest speaker in Abuja. Daniel Aderiye, NTA News.
Governors-elect have continued to receive certificates of return. Let's find out the situation in Lagos from Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jumai. Good evening and a warm welcome to Lagos. The Lagos State Governor-elect Babajide Sanwo-Olu of the APC and his deputy Obafemi Hamzat have been presented with their certificate of return by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) Lagos. The presentation was done by the INEC National Commissioner representing Lagos, Ogun and Ondo states, Dr. Adekunle Ogumola. Tunde Saiki reports.
The Deputy Governor-elect, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, was the first to receive his certificate. The Governor-elect, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, supported by his wife, was next. INEC National Commissioner for Lagos, Ogun and Ondo State, Dr. Adekunle Ogumola, described the presentation as the climax of the electoral process, urging Sanwo-Olu and his deputy to fulfill campaign promises based on the trust and confidence Lagosians have reposed in them.
Quality of the population in Lagos State, they are designing people. So when they make a choice, they know what they are doing. And that places a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
Governor and deputy in waiting expressed appreciation to Lagosians for finding them worthy leaders, vying not to betray the trust.
To get to work, to bring about positive development that will transform the Lagos of our dream to a greater height.
It's a very easy one. It's for us to take our state to a greater heights, and the challenge is there for us to resolve.
In the meantime, INEC disclosed that the presentation of certificate of return to the 40 elected members of the Lagos State House of Assembly will be performed in the coming weeks. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
Now, the Lagos State government has commenced the documentation of displaced persons from demolished buildings on Lagos Island for temporary relief accommodation at the Lagos State Government Resettlement Center, Igondo. Nosa Usula has the details.
Akilmi Ambode had earlier directed that those affected as a result of the ongoing demolition of defective buildings be resettled at the relief center in line with international best practices. The general manager of LASEMA, Adesina Tiamiyu, said that the exercise is part of the state government's efforts to ensure that the effect of loss on the victims is mitigated to the barest minimum.
We have taken them around the facilities. We visited the dormitories where they will sleep. We visited the clinic. We visited the dining hall. We also visited, the hall where they will be attended to.
Additional also assured residents that the Igondo resettlement camp has facilities to provide relief for affected victims, including those living with disabilities and children.
I want to assure, them, for every of their pupils that are in school, we will not stop their education. We will find a way to put them back in school, even if it is around here.
I really appreciate what they offer us.
The local government, what they provided is just for a short time and a makeshift. But coming to this facility, this is more comfortable.
The state government also advised occupiers of any demolished buildings and those already marked for demolition who desire to take advantage of this alternative temporary accommodation to register with the Lagos State Building Control Agency or the Office of the Special Advisor on Central Business Districts. In Lagos, Nosa Usula, NTA News.
This is NTA Network News. More reports ahead after this timeout. Stay tuned.
I thought leaving the country was the best decision for me and my future.
I left for a better life.
We were picked up by immigration officials and sent to a detention camp.
I spent 8 months in the detention camp.
There was no food, no water.
I saw people being beaten like animals.
Some women were raped. Some women were sold as slaves.
I thought I would never see my loved ones again.
I have made the biggest mistake of my life.
I have wasted all my savings.
I have to start all over again.
Migration is a human phenomenon which cannot be stopped. But if we choose to migrate, we advocate that it should be done in a safe, orderly, regular, and dignified way, and not in a dangerous and tortuous manner.
This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
This is NTA Network News. Debabri Nweke is standing by in Port Harcourt with more news. Hello, Debabri.
Good evening, Jumai, and welcome to Port Harcourt. The Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, has advanced the need for partnership between the academia, the industry, and government in commercialization of research finding as a panacea to the nation's economic development challenge. Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu spoke at the University of Port Harcourt's 32nd Convocation Lecture. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
The focus of the Uniport 32nd Convocation Lecture was on science and technology as a driver of the economic recovery and growth plan of our nation. Guest Dr. Onu, who chronicled the efforts by the present administration at driving a technological and innovative roadmap, called for investment in the research findings from institutions to solve national economic problems.
We need foreign expertise, but it will not be business as usual. We are going to bring Nigerian professionals to understudy the foreign experts while they are working in Nigeria.
The federal government, he said, is promoting the protection of intellectual property as a step to commercializing research findings, disclosing also that his ministry has developed a solar voting solution to address Nigeria's electoral challenges. The 32nd guest lecturer earlier inspected faculty buildings newly constructed in the institution. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
The River State Real Madrid Football Academy Complex has reached advanced stage with high chances for inauguration this year. Governor Nyesom Wike gave the indication when he inspected the progress of work at the construction site. Ogedinyekwe reports.
Governor Wike was at the wing of the Yakubu Gowon Stadium, where the River State Real Madrid football is being constructed, to assess the level of work, which has reached advanced stage with the laying of the football pitch and the 1,000 capacity viewing stand. The administrative block and the classrooms are very well on course. The academy, when completed, would pride as the first of its kind in the country.
We believe that the end of May will be commissioned, and look at the facilities, classrooms for our children. Those of them who want to take soccer as their profession. And that's why we're doing Real Madrid as a brand that, as I speak to you, we have 12 of our boys who are in Madrid now, having their training in that tells you that we're really very, very serious.
The governor also inspected ongoing construction work at the Pleasure Park Cinema, which has reached over 90% completion. In Port Harcourt, Ogedinyekwe, NTA News.
And as our beat from Port Harcourt, he's back to Joma.
Thank you, Debabri. Following the decision of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee to reduce lending rate from 14% to 13.5%. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria have commended the reduction as a positive economic policy that will fast-track domestic investment. Ololade Adeyeki reports.
following indication that the economy could absorb increased lending to the real sector of the economy. Members of the CBN Monetary Policy Committee voted for a reduction in the interbank lending rate. Guests commended CBN for the reduction of the lending rate, but advised the Apex Bank to be cautious, that the disconnect between the private sector and financial institution poses a big challenge.
Situation in which high rates of inflation and unemployment coexisted with very low negative output growth. That's a very, very serious problem.
We are still forced to maintain a high interest rate regime in the country. Even though this signal has come to bring down to 13.5%, don't expect it will go down to 11% to 10%. It can't, because inflation is one of the barriers.
Portfolio inflows into the economy is a very volatile thing. It can be very disruptive and it can be very destabilizing. If we continue to push up interest rates because we want to attract portfolio inflows, at a time you need them to stabilize the economy, they pull out of the economy.
So emphasized on public procurement with the hope that the quality of government spending will increase and also reduce fiscal deficits to carry out capital projects. In Abuja, Ololade Alayaki, NTA News.
And from the business world, Abolade Salami has more updates from the financial sector.
Thank you, Jumai. Good evening and welcome to Business News. And still talking on the MPC's meeting. The 50 basis points cut from the monetary policy rate by the Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria will not have a profound impact on lending rates. Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, said the policy will help stimulate economic growth. The decision by the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria to reduce monetary policy rates to 13.5% from 14% has been described as a measure that will help stimulate economic growth, create jobs, and promote economic inclusion. Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, said though the policy option is desirable at this period, there is a need for a review of other key policy instruments to ensure a better liquidity environment.
For us to achieve this economic objective, the monetary policy has a role, the fiscal authorities also have a role. So when we talk about de-risking the investment environment, the fiscal authorities have an even bigger role. Because when we talk about credit, we talk about the supply side of credit, we also talk about the demand side. The demand side is positioning the private sector, the operators in the economy, at least to give confidence to those who will lend the money.
He implored the banks to take a clue from the Apex Bank in their lending rate to operators in the real and service sectors of the economy. Meanwhile, the federal government is set to borrow 1.6 trillion naira in 2019 to fund the budget. Director General Debt Management Office, Patience Onia, said the level of borrowing has dropped from 2.2 trillion naira in 2017 to 1.6 trillion naira in the year 2018. Equities markets. The market had a rebound after close of today's trading. Here is today's details.
Now to stock market reports. Equities market closed Friday's trading in the green, appreciating by 0.67% to close the all-share index at 31,041.42 basis points. Volume of shares traded were 266 million, valued at 3.15 billion naira, which exchanged hands in 3,455 deals. Market capitalization stood at 11.67 trillion naira. Nestle, Seplat, and Mobil all closed in the green, while Presco, Cadbury, and Guarantee declined in figures. Most sectors closed the week in green, as NSE Consumer Goods, Industrial, Oil and Gas, and NSE Pension closed in 2.30%, 0.18%, 4.84%, and 0.23%, while NSE Insurance and NSE Banking closed in red, depreciating by 1.08% and 0.42%.
And that's a wrap on business news. The news continues shortly with Juma in Abuja. Good evening.
Thank you. We are taking another break. Don't go away. You are watching NTA Network News. Part update is next.